Welcome to panel discussion at the Coffee Con Show powered by the Emerging India Forum TIF and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Topic is safe space for mental wellness in the corporate environment. This is part of we are celebrating World Mental Health Day, which is coming on 8th, and this topic came because of gratitude to Nayantara during the coffee. She brought up this topic, and here now we are having today morning only. I had this conversation with one of the speakers and said, "Okay, by I'm having a panel discussion on safe space." Said that's very relevant, and we men also face need safe space. So we three are in majority, so we are in spaces among two women. So let's dive into the subject that often remains unspoken in boardrooms but touches every professional deeply, creating safe spaces for mental wellness in the corporate environment. In high pressure workplaces where deadlines, targets, and constant hustle dominate, conversations about mental health can feel risky or even stigmatized. But the truth is, a safe space is not a luxury, it's a necessity for sharper minds, stronger teams, and sustainable success. Our panel today brings together voices from legal, leadership, HR, mental health advocacy, and lived experiences to explore how we can move from awareness to action. So, let me introduce our panelists for the day. We have with us our first panelist, Dr. Akshara Damle, a TEDx speaker, psychologist, NLP practitioner, and the founder of Mano Samvada. Join us as we embark on a journey beyond the professional accolades, delving into his personal anecdotes, cherished moments, and the passions that define Akshara's life. Our second panelist, Neeraj Vyas, partner at Saga Legal, who brings over a decade of expertise in private equity, venture capital, and M&A transactions. Neeraj has worked with leading firms and corporate giants, handling complex deals and shaping the future of corporate law in India. Along with his legal prowess, Neeraj is a passionate advocate for mental health awareness within the legal profession and speaks out on the need for improved work culture in law firms. Our third panelist, Nayantara Sanyal, partner at ALMT Legal, brings to the table over a decade of rich, varied experience that cuts across corporate, commercial litigation, intellectual property, law, arbitration, and civil procedures. Having started her career at marquee law firms like Khaitan, Anand and Anand, and leading legal practice across Cochin, Delhi, and Mumbai, Nayantara represents the rare intersection of courtroom resilience and compassionate counsel. So, beyond litigation and legal, Nayantara is also passionate about purpose, persistence, and people. Our fourth panelist, Megha Malan, Assistant Director, Talent Development at reputed professional service organization, mentor, leadership coach, author, and empathy evangelist. With over 17 plus years of rich experience in learning and development, Megha brings more than just professional excellence in the table. She brings heart, depth, and a fierce commitment to people first growth. Whether it's enabling leadership journeys, bringing breaking down emotional barriers in the workplace, or advocating for authenticity and inclusion, Mega lives her purpose unapologetically. From boardrooms to bookshelves, from coaching sessions to candid conversation, she inspires us to embrace the human behind the role. So let's begin this sensitive topic of safe space. And my first question for our esteemed panelists: in today's high pressure corporate culture, what does a term safe space for mental wellness truly mean? So, who's coming first?
I can go first, Amir,
Yeah.
and it's going to be tricky, okay? If you allow me to have tea on a coffee show, that's going to be a safe space for me. Okay? You allowing that?
Yeah. You heard.
I'm just kidding. So I think safe space for me, Amir, is where a space where purpose meets passion, where people are not just coping, they're thriving, and the traits like vulnerability, authenticity are celebrated, right? A place where people are not fearful of talking about their perspectives, their ideas, and they know that their ideas and whatever they talk about will be valued or acknowledged, at least, right? A place where people don't have to be fearful about whatever they say would be reprimanded, or they will be labeled, or they'll be punished, is a safe space for me.
Amir, just to take it from Megha, to my understanding, a safe space isn't about creating an environment that is free from accountability or pressure. It's about creating one that is free from fear of judgment, a fear of appearing weak, or a fear of being penalized for simply being human. So, particularly in high performance environments like law, it means people feel free that they can speak up when they're struggling without, altering how they are perceived professionally. I think that is a very important aspect as far as I'm concerned when it comes to a safe space.
Yeah, I also agree with what Nanta and Mega just said. Like to my mind, it's not about having that one day or having like that one exercise or something to allow people to speak or to have like a so-called chill day or relaxed day. It's more about a environment where on a daily basis you can you feel confident enough to speak about what you are feeling, where like a vulnerability is not treated as a weakness, or where like taking it slow, or taking a break because you have been at it for such a long time, like that is, you aren't prejudiced against it. So I mean, I feel that a safe space is built over a period of time, with the small actions which are taken on a daily basis. It's not something that one day you wake up and you decide that, oh, from today we are going to be an organization which will be, let's say, employee friendly, or which will be, more open, which will encourage people to talk about things that they are not been talking about so far. So I think it's something which happens over a period of time. That's why the term widely used, which we say is the culture, because it's not something you can build in a day or even in a month. It's something you need to do every day, and it gets tested on an everyday basis. It's very easy for me or anyone to say that, okay, I'm all for work-life balance, or I'm all for good working culture, but it gets tested on the day when, let's say, there are a lot of deliverables, when I know that the team is under pressure, or I know that this is not humanly possible. What do I do on that day is what would determine whether a place is, or whether my organization is a safe space or not. So it's something which we need to do on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think agreeing with all the other esteemed panelists, I would like to put it like this. A space where a person can be authentic, irrespective of what they are feeling, and share their vulnerability without putting any filter, and speak out their heart, irrespective of the hierarchy in the organization or irrespective of the roles that are assigned. If everyone can be authentic to whatever they think, whatever they feel, and act accordingly, and if that space adhere, or if that space gives that kind of environment where a person can be authentic, then that for me is a safe space.
Wow. Beautiful, beautifully put, all the panelists. Let's build up the conversation. So my question next is about conversation. Why do you think conversation about mental health in the workplace are considered taboo in many organizations, and how do we overcome this?
I can go first this time.
Yes.
I think the we as a community are still, like, a lot more focused on uh, you know number of hours or showing your face in the office, sitting till late. And if somebody, I mean, we are a culture where if somebody is efficient, who is able to do work quickly than, let's say, the other person, we try and sort of punish the effective person because we will either dump more work on that person, or we will say that, oh, the other person sits till 10 p.m. in the office, you go home at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Now, but it's not taken into account that how much work is being done. So we are focusing more on quantity over quality. Like, I mean, all of us know there's been a huge discussion which is happening on how many number of hours we should be spending in office, whether it should be 70 hours, whether it should be 60, 40, whatever it is. The fact of the matter is that all of us are like, the discussion is about the number of hours and the discussion is not about the quality of work. That I think is the main problem, and that's why it's a taboo. Because today, if I am not feeling, let's say, well, and I want to go home, or even if, let's say, I'm feeling completely okay, but I've finished my work on time and I want to go home, there is that fear that, okay, at the end of the year, when appraisals come around, or when it comes, time comes for promotion, I may be judged harshly because I don't sit in office till a particular time.
I think what we have in our corporate culture is this culture of stoicism that we have to kind of unlearn. We have to kind of understand that vulnerability does not equate to incompetence. And that takes a very conscious effort, and it takes modeling from the leadership to normalize conversations around mental health as a part of performance stability and not as a part of a deviation from it. Just like, if to give you an example, our senior partners, this is a culture they practice on an everyday basis. They're there for you not just to guide your career or to judge you on how many clients you've converted or how many billable hours you've done. They're there to actually have conversations with you where you might not feel great about a certain outcome. You might not feel great on a particular day. There might be something awful happening at home that is affecting your ability to concentrate. The fact that you they have modeled this culture of an open door system where you can go in and actually tell them, and this doesn't matter whether you're an A0 associate or you're a partner with their organization. You can go in and actually tell them what the problem is, and they will A, acknowledge it, B, not hold it against you, and C, they will actively use all the resources available to them to try and make your life easier. So when you see leadership model like that, then that automatically comes down to the second line as well. So I think that is we have to unlearn this concept of stoicism, the culture of stoicism. And secondly, I think top management and leadership modeling is very important. And until that happens, I don't think the cultural shift will happen, which is why it probably remains taboo.
I think I agree, Nantara and Neeraj, what you said. Two main points for me. One, of course, we're still prioritizing productivity over mental well-being or overall well-being, right? Two, leaders don't know. They don't role model vulnerability. They don't talk about their mental health, right? And hence people think, we are glamorizing that it is, we at work just need to talk about what we can achieve or just achievements and not how we are failing, in our personal life, or let's say what are we struggling with. So since that role modeling is not happening, people are not seeing that as a culture, and that really pushes them off and they don't open up. Three, I think people don't even know if somebody in my team is feeling something or struggling with something, some mental health issue. They don't know how to support people. They don't know how to go beyond how are you doing. People might just be asking every day, how are you? But no one, let's accept it. Not many people are ready to address this. They're not ready to wait and listen to people when they answer how they're actually feeling. We are actually scared. What if, something, the person really opens up? What am I supposed to do? So I think that is the biggest taboo.
Yeah, adding on to all the others, one of the major things that I see is mental health is invisible to others. I mean, if a person is going through stress or any trauma or anything for that matter, be it sadness, it is not very evident to other people, and people have learned the art of pretending how happy they are or how strong they are and so on. And over a period of time, people end up suppressing a lot of negative emotion, and then one day when it kind of bursts out, then the kind of consequences that they, as a person, as a family, or as an organization, people will have to face is much larger. And that is where I feel the need to have conversations about mental health is becoming very important. And one more thing that I'm also seeing is, as a social organization, be it a family or be it a workplace or be it a community, we have become so isolated in our lives that we generally do not share our vulnerabilities or our concerns even with our own family members most of the times. And people do not get to know what is happening in one's life. And generally, whenever somebody asks, "How are you doing?" we end up saying, "I'm fine," irrespective of what is really happening in our life, right? So that is where I think we need to create that safe space to talk about our mental health issues, be it small, be it big, and kind of make it normal to talk about, like just like we say, I'm having cough, cold, or fever, or neck pain, back pain, etc., etc. Similarly, I think we need to create a space where we talk about our emotions authentically in the work culture as well.
I mean, I don't mean
Beautiful.
to be devil's advocate here, but we also need to communicate to people what is okay to share and what is not okay to share in a corporate setup or in a law firm setup, because everyone has struggles. Being able to understand what are my struggles and what I need to do for myself, as opposed to what is a much larger concern, is also important, because you can't have a no corporate, no law firm, no company can function if everybody has a bad day at some point in time. I might be in a bad mood because of traffic, but that does not correlate to my mental health. So there, I mean, that kind of awareness also has to come in at some level, where you can't use it as a blame game, which it often turns out to be, which is why a lot of leadership and a lot of the top management is very apprehensive about putting things like this into place, because tomorrow you'll say, Mary, but like I didn't get hot tea, so now I'm in a terrible mood, so the rest of my day is going to be screwed. Now that cannot be a mental health crisis. So I mean, we often say that, oh, the Gen Zs are so sensitive, etc., but that also comes from a space because they haven't really been had the exposure or been explained to what is your own private problem, what are the degrees of it. And I think that is also a level of awareness that needs to come in, because a corporate cannot and will not, at the end of the day, all of these are for profit businesses. Nobody is running a charity, and they're paying you for your time. So while mental health and safe space and all of these are very important, there has to be a very clear line in the sand as to what is acceptable. Like, of course, if you're drowning, by all means, you should be able to come and talk to your whoever it is, be it your colleague, be it your manager, be it your partner, whoever it is. But there has to be an understanding at every level as to what necessitates such a reaction over what isn't. So I think that is kind of important. I know, kind of contrary to what we were saying initially, but I think it forms a very important part, because without this counterbalance, the other safe space, the space for people to actually come and air their issues, gets taken away because nobody wants to deal with aaj garam chai nahi mila, aaj traffic tha, those sort of problems. Please feel free to correct
I
me.
completely agree. In
I'm
fact, yeah,
coming
yeah.
from a very partner space, so I may be wrong.
I know.
But yeah.
No, don't worry. We're having this conversation and discussions. Yeah, it's healthy. Yeah, Akshara, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, I agree on that part as well, because in the last couple of years in the corporate world, empathetic leadership has been romanticized a lot. So, interestingly, I did a survey to understand whether empathetic leaders are really successful, because that is what it was portrayed as. And something that came out of my research was that a lot of empathetic leaders were miserably failing to meet the targets, because people use it as a easy tool to get rid of the working. Right, I have headache today, somebody is not keeping well at home, something is happening, so I am not able to function at optimal level. So these are used as a kind of reasons for not being efficient, and a lot of empathetic leaders were simply listening to them and empathizing them, and then when the total numbers were seen, then they were kind of far away from whatever they could have achieved. So there, as you rightly said, we need to kind of balance between empathy and assertiveness. That is when organizations can take things, can be more inclusive, where people can be vulnerable. At the same time, that cannot be a kind of escape mechanism for people who are unable to function at a effective way.
Yeah, so like I always tell my kids, if you need a mental health day, take a mental health day. But if your mental health days outnumber the days that you have actually worked, then that is not a problem that the corporate can help you with or the law firm can help you with. That is something you need to speak to somebody about. If you need resources to or guidance to put you in touch with such people, definitely we will help, and no prejudice attached to it. But there has to be a you have to keep a tangent in reality as well. It's not just about you and your mental health. It's also about a company that is employing that many people, paying that many people's salary, running that many people's homes. So that also you also have to keep the corporate's mind requirements in mind, because if everybody took mental health days every other day, then the company is going to shut shop. Then you're not going to have a salary to take a mental health day from. So this is just like my two bits.
No, I
Yeah,
think
that's
this
what
is a
good.
valid, very interesting conversation. And Nantara, thank you for, acting as a devil advocate there.
Yeah.
I just want to, coming from a learning team, I just want to tell that these are the spaces, opportunities where we need to introduce training for our employees, right? They should know what emotional intelligence is. They should know what is emotional agility, right? They should know how do they understand, acknowledge their emotions, take time out, be mindful, manage their personal emotions, be self-aware, regulate their emotions, right? And there could be still be days where, as a conversation starter, you might want to share with people, oh, I'm so frustrated because of the traffic. I have to rush because I need to pick my kid from the school. And these conversations should be normalized. People should not just be fearful of saying all of this, but then the person they're speaking to should also know how to empathize with the person who is really being brave and sharing, those things that are bothering that person. If I even talk about if I'm just talking about, it has been a tough day, my house help has been on chutti, or, I am all alone, need to pick my kid, I should not be neglected, or, uh, you know, uh, people should acknowledge it, and they should know how to handle this with empathy. So trainings can go a long way. People don't know how to empathize in real. It is just a buzzword for a lot many people out there. I think more awareness around these concepts as a skill is very important.
Wow. So let's build the conversation. Uh, good. We are in the good direction we're going. Mega build up on training. My next question will be, what small gestures from colleagues or managers or senior leadership can make the biggest difference to someone struggling silently?
I would like to go ahead, Amir.
Yeah,
I think as
Please.
leaders, it is very important to build that psychological safety, to let people know proactively that, hey, it's a safe space. And I came across this word, I love this word called compassionate accountability, right? Telling people that while I'm all here, I'm all ears. If you need flexibility, let me know. If you're struggling with something, let me know. But then at the end of the day, the results or the deliverables should not be impacted, right? You need help. Whatever support you need, feel free to reach out. I think having those proactive, open, honest, meaningful conversations is very important. And I always am a big fan of having open conversations. Conversations should be seen as a transformative tool. And I strongly feel that there is no conflict issue that cannot be addressed with a conversation. So I think the leaders just need to start with having open conversation. That should be the first step.
I also think when you converse about the challenges that you have faced, particularly women, the challenges we have faced as we have progressed up the corporate ladder, up the positions of power. When you have open conversations with younger juniors, specifically female juniors, about situations you've faced or how you've handled it, or how you, even the ones that you have blown up and it's been terrible for you, and maybe you're still recovering from those bad decisions, but that sort of authenticity, I feel, kind of shows up. Authenticity, like I always say, authenticity shows up in patterns, not statements. So if you're just talking about it, about mental health on mental health day, then it's kind of performative and it feels kind of unreal. But as a leader, if you actually own up to the mistakes you've made, talk about the problems you faced, ones you've conquered, ones that you're still struggling with, ones that you don't see yourself surmounting, and you're honest about it with your team feels, I feel, more comfortable to come to you with their problems, and also honestly kind of listens to your feedback. So if I were to tell my junior that, hey, I understand you feel overwhelmed by this right now, but this needs to get done. This is something that we need to finish. So I kind of need you to just deal with it and finish it. And I promise you, after that, we can give you the time you need to heal, or the time you need to take a break, or just kind of decompress. We can discuss that. But the work needs to get done right now. And if they see you doing the same thing, then it creates a much better rapport, much more authentic bond than simplicity being empathetic and saying, oh yeah, I understand, I feel your pain, or oh, I get it, take your time off. At least in my experience, or how I choose to lead my team, is like this, which is why I'm
Beautiful.
generally very open about the troubles I've had or the failings I've had.
Yeah, I think you need to lead by example whenever, I mean, irrespective of whatever we are talking about. So, like when it comes to, for example, so a lot of people ask me that when I say work-life balance, do I mean that it's going to be like a 9 to 5 job or 9 to 6 job? That can never happen, right? We no longer work in like the country today is not like that where you can try and do that. Uh, so the thing is, but you need to lead by example. So, for example, if an urgent work has come over the weekend, and I know for a fact that, okay, let's say if I do it, I'll be able to do it in 1 hour or so, compared to an associate who may take 4 or 5 hours and then I'll have to spend an hour. I will do it. But let's say multiple clients have come back and they've asked for, some deliverables. What I can't afford is that my entire team is working, but I am never working over a weekend. I can't say that my time is more valuable than yours, or and this is something I've heard a lot of times that the senior partners or the senior management, so called, would say that we did this when we were young. Now it's your time to do it. I think that is something which doesn't really work anymore. And at the same time, it's also like continuing to what Nanta said, like you need to also talk about your vulnerabilities, your failures, One very sad thing which I've noticed is that, and I think it's linked to what Akshay said sometime back. People nowadays don't even talk about happy things, or they don't even like to convey that, oh, I had a good day, because they feel that it won't be like, it will be looked down upon. Like if you ask somebody on a Monday, how was your weekend? They'll try and keep it very vague. They'll try and keep it, or they will say things like, oh, I was working, I was dying with work, or I did a lot of work. And that is always the preface to whatever else they did over the weekend. So they are trying to establish that, oh, I didn't chill over the weekend, I was working also, which is a bit sad. I mean, you can always say positive things first and then say that, oh, I was also working. But such is the environment that, people don't say positive things. So as a leader, you also need to establish that. Like if you come in to office on Monday and say that I didn't do anything over the weekend, there was no work. I think that's okay. And if you do it as a leader more, maybe your team will also start doing it. And yeah, I mean, you need to set an example, whether it is positive, negative, whatever way you want to look at it, but you need to set that example if you want your team to do that.
Also, I mean, and again, I might be coming from a very limited space, but I think it's very important to actually love what you do. Like, I don't know any successful lawyers at any stage of their career who don't genuinely love what they do. I think it's impossible because of the type of pressures we face, because of the timelines we keep, because of the high stakes that we generally work with. Even, I mean, you don't have to be a litigator, you don't have to be a criminal lawyer for your stakes to be high. But if you don't genuinely love what you do, at some point in time, it's going to start feeling like a chore. And law has a lot of background work that goes on. Like if you're advising on X query, you're looking up A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So you have to genuinely enjoy doing that. If you don't, you're not going to, really put in that kind of an effort. Therefore it's not going to show in your product. Therefore you're not going to be held accountable. And therefore, I mean, and then you're going to like feel like, oh, nobody appreciates my work. If I do so much hard work but nobody appreciates it. So there are two sides to every coin.
I have a bit of a different take. I think you need to be sincere in what you do. You can always, I mean, see, at the end of the day, and this is again personal opinion, and this is what I expect from others. At the end of the day, it's a job, right? Where you are expected to be sincere, you're expected to be hardworking. As long as you do that, you may love singing, you may love doing stand-up comedy, you do it on your time. And I know, Nanta, this is not what you meant when you said
Correct.
that you need to love your job. I agree with that. I'm just saying that, like, what I'm trying to just clarify is that uh, you need to be sincere, you need to be hardworking. That's the bare minimum. On top of that, if you love the job, that gives you like an additional edge, gives you, it makes your life easier.
So Neeraj, I'm going to deviate from you slightly, where I say, when I say I don't need you to love the job.
Hmm.
It's the work that you're doing that you need to love. And just because you love your work does not mean you cannot also love singing, and you cannot also love stand up, and you cannot have multiple things that you love.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and again, it's not tied up to the job, so it's not tied up
Right.
to what your title is, or what your designation is, or which firm you
Hmm.
are with, or which corporate you're with. But generally love what you do. Particularly, I feel this is true, and I have never worked as anything else but a lawyer, so I can only give you the limited point of view of a lawyer.
Megha will give us the copper background.
But
So,
in the space of being a lawyer, if you don't enjoy law, and now it could be
Yeah.
any law you practice, but if you don't
Correct.
enjoy law in general, you're going to tend to burn out much faster because of the sheer amount of pressure and work and
True.
expectations and stakes involved.
And
That
I'll
that's
just
all I
add,
would say.
Nantara, it's a very valid point, and you're right. Again, not training is not the solution for everything, but I think most of the things can be sorted. We also do these sessions on discover your purpose, right? Because we really want people to not just come, log in, do their work 9 to 5, get burnt out, wait for the weekend. We don't want that to happen. So in our organization, we proactively have sessions on discover your purpose, figure out what a purpose is. It could be as simple as helping people, and then how are you activating that purpose every single day in the work, in the role that you have. So you're right. Of course, if you love your work or your job, and you're able to embed, integrate your personal purpose into professional purpose, that can really help with the well-being.
Yeah. So to give you an example, so I, like you said, I am an IP lawyer. I specialize in IP law. But recently I was feeling like there's something lacking, like I'm not doing enough. I didn't feel like I'm doing anything. So when I had a conversation with my senior partner, he encouraged me to start another practice of law in the firm with the help of the firm to build another practice that I felt kind of helps me with my purpose, which was advising people in the family law aspect. So that again helped me integrate it. So you have to find the solution. Nobody's going to come to you and tell you that, look, this is the roadmap to mental health. None of us can. So I mean, irrespective of how awesome your seniors are, you have to be able to go and articulate what your problem is as well.
Akshara, what are your?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it in two perspectives. One, as leaders, they themselves will have a lot of issues for themselves. In the sense, when I work with leaders, they say that people outside see us as having a lot of power, a lot of perks, and a lot of other things. But at the same time, each decision that they are going to make is going to impact so many lives out there, because every organization will have so many stakeholders, not just employees, but also a lot of people out there. So as a leader, they themselves will have a lot of challenges for themselves. Again, I'm not saying only mental health per se, in terms of making decisions on time and many other things. And I mean, sometimes it may be not so right to expect everything from the leaders in the organization, because it is too much on the leaders, because they have to make strategic planning, they have to take the organization forward, and a lot of other responsibilities out there. That is on the one side. Secondly, I would like to share some kind of simple gestures how leaders can show. Taking example of Dr. Abdul Kalam. So this is shared by one of the senior scientists who was working in DRDO. So he happens to share with Dr. Kalam, who was his leader, saying, I have to go early today because I have to take my children to a fair and they are looking forward to visiting there. So Dr. Kalam actually agreed with the scientists to leave early, but by the time scientists actually winded up his work, it was already 8 or 9. So he rushed home, and with a lot of apprehension, because he was expecting his wife would be angry, children would be showing tantrums because he was late and he had committed to take his children to the fair. And when he reached home, he saw that children were not at home. Then he asked his wife, what happened? Where are the children? Then she said, your boss had come and took the children to the fair. And then the next day, when the scientist reached out to Kalam, then he said, at 6 o'clock, I came and I saw that you were extremely engrossed in your work. And I didn't want to disturb the scientist in you. But at the same time, I remembered that you had committed as a father. So I thought, let me do that job for your children so that they don't miss out the experience that they really wanted to have. But at the same time, I didn't want to miss out on this. So again, as leaders today, it may not be possible all the time for us to reach out to the families and so on. But taking care of an individual, not just at workplace, but also in a holistic way, definitely adds a lot of value, because that enhances the commitment and the sense of belongingness for the employee with the organization at a different level altogether. So I feel that leaders can show these kind of examples. Again, this can trickle down further. It need not be only the top management. It can be team leader or any other employee or any other member in the organization can become or take leads in this way, so that the burden on the leaders are distributed, and at the same time the sense of belongingness increases in the organization.
Beautifully put. So let's go to the next question. How can organizations navigate the thin line between respecting employee privacy and proactively supporting mental wellness?
Yeah, so having a mental health initiative in the organization is something a lot of organizations are looking at. But one of the challenges that I see here is a lot of organizations are only making or telling the employees, hey, we have collaborated with this so and so mental health company, and so many sessions are booked from the company side, and you can take these sessions whenever you want, and your privacy is maintained. But I don't see that this is going to solve the problem of mental health challenge for the employees, because just by taking sessions, the person may be addressing one small portion of the challenge, but it is always better, like Megha was talking about. It is, I mean, through trainings and through group intervention, a larger issues can be addressed. It is not just about taking individual sessions. So, while I kind of advocate for individual interventions, but at the same time I always look, whenever we talk about organizations, I always say that let us have trainings in terms of the mental health challenges, be it stress management or emotional quotient and so on, where we create that safe space for the employees to share their vulnerabilities or whatever they feel or think and so on, and then address those issues. Because if there is a conflict in the organization or in the team, and one of the employees goes to the therapist and says, hey, I have conflict with this employee, or he or she is doing so and so, and I am not feeling good about it, then therapists can only empathize and say, maybe suggest some of the ways to deal with it, but it may not be holistic. But if there is an intervention happening at group level, then probably it will be addressed from the root of it, and kind of address the whole problem. I have done something like this in an MNC, where there was a tussle between digital marketing team and the marketing team, and they were not falling in line, and it was always a conflict, and the company was struggling to deal with this kind of conflict, and everyone was going through stress, outbursts, frustration, irritation, and so on. So when I made to sit everyone together and talk out and see where are these issues coming out, and then within a day we could resolve so many issues, and there was one more follow-up session where we could completely address and bring them into a consensus, and then the whole thing started moving further and faster. So probably these kind of interventions are much more needed, and companies should really look at these interventions than just providing a number of individual sessions booked with some therapist and so on.
I think beyond this, one important ground rule when it comes to wellness is that it has to be confidential, whether you're providing counseling services, initiatives, safe space conversation. It just has to be confidential, and people should be able to have that trust, and nothing goes out of whatever they are discussing. And of course, respecting the boundaries, making these initiatives voluntary. You can't force people, right? Let's say somebody is grieving. It is their response. I mean, it is their own voluntary wish, whether they want to avail that service or not. So that flexibility should be given.
I think it's the key is to offer help without intrusion. You know, to ask and not to assume, but to support and like not probe. So people know when their privacy is respected, and when they are confident that their privacy is going to be respected and acknowledged, I think that encourages people to open up more. So we go back to that concept of safe space of no judgment, and just like a ear to hear. So just someone to be able to talk to without like them eulogizing to you or diagnosing you. Like I think this pop psychology is everywhere. Every time you speak to somebody right now, and I'm sure Megha will agree with me, then somebody or the other will turn around and say, "Oh, you're dealing with a narcissist. Oh, you're dealing with a psychopath." These are very, very strong psychological terms that have far wide-reaching concepts rather than this pop psychology. It may be cool to call your boss a narcissist, but he most definitely isn't. Just because he's difficult does not make him a narcissist. But having that sort of a space where you are not diagnosing anyone, you are not judging them, but just listening to them or guiding them to the, as both Akshara and Megha said, guiding them to the right resources and giving them the confidence that they're not being judged and it's confidential. I think that's where the line is. And it becomes clearer with your intent, I guess. If your intent is to intrude, then you're going to find a way to intrude.
Yeah, you just need to be a good listener, I feel. I mean, that's because see, none of us, or at least, sorry, I don't mean none of us, at least some of us are not qualified to be a therapist or to advise on every kind of scenario. We may have our own experiences and still we may not be the best person to advise somebody. So I think the idea should be that you just try and be a good listener. You just try and communicate to the person or generally in your organization to your juniors that hey, if you need to talk, I am here to listen. The I may not be able to solve your problem.
Yeah.
In fact, I may not even be able to tell you where to go and or who to speak with because I don't know everything. But I will try my best to ensure that I help you. And sometimes just talking also helps. You don't need any kind of like a therapy session or something. So just be a good listener. That's all.
Beautiful. So my next question: how do hybrid and remote work models affect the idea of safe spaces for mental wellness? So starting.
I can start. See,
Yeah.
so I mean, I've been very vocal about work from home, uh, especially for lawyers and especially for corporate lawyers. I feel that we are in an industry where it's not necessary for us to be present in the office in order to do our best work. It can be done remotely. But over the last, I would say, last few years, or maybe few months or something, I've realized that extreme of everything is bad. And I'll give you an example. Recently, I was interviewing a candidate who works in another law firm, and they have a permanent work from home because they don't have office in Bangalore. Now, that candidate was saying that that is the reason why that candidate is moving to a different law firm because one, I mean, on the learning front, he said that if you don't have an office, there's very limited reach you have to your colleagues or to the partner, and if you want to discuss, they're not there. That's on the work side. But even on the other side, see, you need a set of people who are going through the same thing as you. They will make your life a bit easier because a lot of and I can tell you from my experience, some of my best friends after college are the ones who were my colleagues at some point of time. All of us have been through same situation. We have worked with same partners. We have dealt we been in the same. We have handled same kind of pressure. So then you know that, okay, just by talking to this person, I'll feel better. And that is something that can happen only if you are in office. Because if you're not in office, then you will never, I mean, it's very tough to have that kind of friendship where you can call and talk about it. Okay, it's not even about it's not even about bad mouthing somebody. It's just about talking about what you're feeling like. And that you can do only if somebody is physically present and you know that, okay, I do need to give a context to this person, that why I'm going to talk about a particular person and in what manner I'm going to talk about this particular person. The other person already has that context because they are in the same setup. So I feel that the hybrid model should be there. I mean, it's organization to organization how many work from home they want to give, but I think extreme of either, where there is no work from home or where there is no work from office, I think that's bad in the long run.
Yeah, I
Who's
agree
coming?
with that mid-path approach always, because the human connections happen better when you meet them in person. Doesn't mean that you cannot build a connection virtually, but that kind of trust, that kind of, I mean, the way we are all appearing on the screen could be different from the way we appear in real, I mean, or when we meet in person, right? So when you meet a person and have that kind of conversation, that is very, very different. So a lot of people keep asking me in terms of, can you do therapy online and whether it is really effective, just like an in-person session. So I always say that online sessions are effective, but we are not saying that it can always replace an in-person session, because in-person sessions, whenever we have an in-person session, a lot of other things also come out which may not come when in a virtual mode. In fact, even when it comes to meetings, when we meet in person, there are a lot of small talks that happen which doesn't happen in a virtual mode. Most of the virtual meetings are like agenda driven. Okay, these are the things that we need to talk, and we get into the conversation of the pointers, and then we finish, and then they say goodbye. So that is where I think I mean, I agree with Neeraj that hybrid is always better. So in fact, I was also thinking that I mean, I am based in Bangalore, so whenever I come to Mumbai, I would meet, or whenever there is a possibility of meeting in person, that is always better than just meeting people virtually. So yeah, that is what I feel.
So I think that working from home exclusively kind of isolates people. Again, because I've been a lawyer my entire life, I can only tell you from the lawyer's perspective. And I feel learning in law is very proximal. Like there is a lot of stuff that I have learned and implemented in my legal career, in my drafting skills, that I have learned because my seniors made me sit next to them and correct drafts while I was sitting there. The way they think, even when it comes to preparing for things like cross examinations, etc., how to frame the questions, why you're framing it like that, what is the thought process. These are things that you would, that simpliciter getting a draft of it will not be able to teach you. So that is something that necessarily comes from physical proximity. So, and I also feel like virtual meetings, virtual conversations feel very transactional. It doesn't help you build a rapport, which I think is very, very important in a workspace scenario, particularly when you're working in a law firm, etc., where you're depending upon the representations made by your colleagues and your juniors to structure your advice, to structure the strategy. So then that becomes very important. Now if I have only interacted with my associate or my colleague over say Zoom or over Teams calls, the chances of my trusting their innate ability to understand the situation is very limited, because a lot of things come from body language, from how they say it, what is the thought behind their saying it. So that's why, that which may not come across when you have an agenda driven, like Aksha said. If it's completely agenda driven, you miss out on the small cues. And there's a reason why in law they say devil lies in the details. And I feel like if you're completely working from home or you're completely virtual, you miss out that sort of a human connect.
I can't agree any less. Of course, hybrid is the way out. There are pros and cons, right? There are people who are like introverts, or they had those family responsibilities to take care of the elders in their family, or any other responsibilities that they have. It is working for them, but at the end, it is also exhausting them, right? They are juggling even more. There's so much hustle that they're doing. They have to ensure they are meeting their deadlines, their deliverables, and also taking care of the personal responsibilities. So I think it is important for people to come to office, have that space where they can have those meaningful, open conversations with their colleagues, build those real connections. Because coaching, mentoring, of course, the reach has gone high with virtual access, but the meaning and the real connection happens only when you're able to see people, right? I'll give you a very personal example. I'm someone who, of course, it's been 17 plus years in my corporate career now. But then for the longest time, I've been very fearful of the titles and the hierarchy, right? But then I know only when I'm able to see the person beyond the title is when my fear is gone, and, I'm able to open up. So that can only happen with in-person conversations. It cannot happen through virtual conversation, because one, time is limited. You have to be visible on the screen, and whether it is a performance or not, you are performing, right? When you're on the screen, it exhausts you mentally. So I think hybrid is the way out, and people should have those opportunities to meet in person, for sure, for their overall well-being.
Yeah,
Wow.
like for instance, I think COVID was the largest learning in this space, where
Yeah.
we were all connected, but you crave that human interaction.
Yeah.
It's when we realize, and it also, I think, uh, when we had the second wave and we were all working from home, the and again, I've been a woman my entire life and I've been a lawyer my entire life. So my perspective comes from those two points. But um, as a working lady, what happens is you end up, that line between professional time and house time gets very blurred. So
Yeah.
you end up where you're on a call talking to clients while making, like, so I have two dogs. So for me it was preparing the food for them. Or there was a time when I took a con call while vacuuming, and I honestly do not appreciate that. I genuinely appreciate the segregation of my time. And that
Yes.
kind
Yeah.
of goes away when you're working from home. So hybrid is, I think, I agree with Meghna completely. Hybrid is the only way forward.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, Nandana, to your examples, I used to miss my commute time. I love my commute time. It again helps you segregate, right? Put that
It
boundary that,
also
okay,
gives you
work
that
is
kind of
done.
alone
Yeah.
time, where, because I know like women, we barely get any alone time. From the moment I open my eyes, someone wants something from me at some
Yeah.
point in time. So when I am in my car, we left to my devices, even if I am drafting, at least it's my space, it's my cocoon. And that is something I really missed when I was forced to work from home
Oh,
continuously.
yes.
And
And
don't
one
get
Okay.
more
me
thing.
wrong, I still take 2 days work from home a week,
Yeah.
but I would, I mean, I need that sort of a balance. And I think COVID has allowed us to realize, like Neeraj says, as corporate lawyers, we don't need to sit in office. There is absolutely no reason why I need to be in office till 2 a.m. looking at the same draft, when I could probably do it in half the time sitting at home.
Okay.
True. And I just want to add one more thing, Amir. And when you meet people in person, I'm someone who genuinely love complimenting people. And I think a compliment can do so much to your well-being, right? And that's the first thing that happened. Giving a compliment or receiving a compliment is a first conversation starter. You starting your day with a compliment can go a long way when it comes to well-being. So hybrid it is.
I don't know how
So
well that
Megha is an
will go
author. She will
along
get a
in a
book.
law. Sorry.
Megha is an author. She will get books which you have is pending from your side to give me autograph books. So when she comes down, we'll catch up with Nayantara. She's Mumbai
Yes.
based. Akshara will come down. Neeraj will also come down. Yeah.
So, I mean, Megha, I think you're very sweet. I don't know how well it would go along in a law firm if I walked in and said, "My God, you guys look beautiful today." I don't think I think my juniors would get a bit of a heart attack. But I get what you're saying. Seeing
You can do
people,
that before or after the day ends, right? A compliment at any time works.
I mean, Neeraj understands where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I too. So let's go to next question. What role can technology and AI play in spotting early signs of burnout and creating safer workspaces? And is it beneficial in using technology?
Oh, this is something that I have been researching for some time now,
Yeah.
because while AI has become part and parcel of a lot of professions, and recently, somewhere I had gone for some community event and I introduced myself as a psychologist, and the lady standing in front of me was like, "Oh, I have ChatGPT for me." So, I mean, that has become a new trend, but unfortunately, it is not a healthy development. Uh, with the, I mean, I would say it with a caveat, because to a certain extent, technology is definitely going to be a game changer. I'm not against using AI for mental health at all. It's not like that. I always say that AI can be used for mental health first aid, in the sense if somebody is feeling anxious suddenly, and you, I mean, a person may not get appointment of the psychologist because most of the psychologists have scheduled sessions, right? So, or many times people have suicidal ideations in the midnight, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And it is inhuman to expect a psychologist to be awake or be available to attend calls at odd hours. So, in all such areas or in all such cases, AI can help in addressing or at least stabilizing the person from extreme emotional disturbances. But a detailed intervention is definitely something that I would suggest has to happen from a human being, a trained therapist, because a lot of lawsuits, I mean, since we have lawyers here, I'm sure that they will be aware that a lot of lawsuits have come up in US and Europe against OpenAI because their children have committed suicide after chatting with the AI chatbot. And one more major challenge with the public is nobody is searching for a trained mental health chatbot. Again, there are very few which are available in the market, and generally people have gone for regularly available generative AI tools, and that is a cause of concern because chatbots have not trained enough to draw boundaries, and they're encouraging people to commit suicide. Recently, I was reading a report where one of the chatbots said, "What is there in your real world? Come to this world." So it encouraged an old man to commit suicide, saying that this world is so beautiful. Whereas, that is a very, very real challenge. And one more major point to be noted is a lot of people who are reaching out to these chatbots will be in extreme vulnerable condition. They're not like doing it for fun, and they will be in a position, or they will be in a situation where they end up trusting whatever the suggestion that is being given to them. So that is where I think it is very important for us to create those boundaries, and while using AI as a tool, because it can definitely help in reaching out to so many people out there, because number of mental health practitioners themselves is quite significantly small compared to the number of, or compared to the mental health burden that we have across the societies. But we cannot use that as a only tool to deal with this issue. That is what that is what my take is.
I mean, I think.
I
Sorry, Neeraj, please continue.
Okay, no, I was just saying that I agree. In fact, like it's a lot similar to like today we know, or at least most people know, that if your physical health is bad, you shouldn't Google the symptoms because you'll always get the worst thing. Similarly, I think, and because the mental health is a lot more subjective, which cannot be cured by so-called, or at least not everything can be cured by medicines. I don't think that you should go to like AI looking for a suggestion. Like Akshara said, it can be a first aid to help you get some clarity, but it can't replace the human element. In fact, one of the things I recently realized, and it was completely different context, not in the context of mental health, is like, and this is something you guys can also do. Just search anything on ChatGPT, let it give you an answer. And if it is something which is not objective, let's say you've asked for some opinion which is not based on law, it's just like general advice. Just put the next prompt as, are you sure?
Yeah.
Lot of times ChatGPT will change its answer. This is something I realized on my recent trip where ChatGPT told me that, there's a particular place to see or something which you can go by taking this bus. And it was not showing on Google Maps, that bus. So I said, are you sure? And then ChatGPT replied saying, that's a good catch. It's not correct. That bus doesn't go there. So even for things which are so harmless, if ChatGPT can't give you an accurate answer, I don't think at this point, at least, we should be or anyone should be relying on AI or and ChatGPT for all we know is right now a market leader. So I'm just assuming that all other AI tools, which are not mental health specific, they would be worse than ChatGPT when it comes to something like this.
I mean, at the end of the day, AI is as good as its LLM models. And if your LLM model, there is only that much information that you can train it on when it comes to the mental health aspect of it, considering the fact that, I mean, if you're going to use what you're going to use Freud's interpretation of dreams, there are a plethora of psychologists who will give you different meanings to the same interpretation that is given in the book. So how do you expect something that is not equipped with things like human understanding, evolutionary biology, not equipped to understand the nuances of human society, to be able to give you tools to deal with it? I think I absolutely agree with Neeraj, where it's like Googling WebMD for your symptoms and getting cancer irrespective of what your symptom is. So, I mean, I think expecting AI to like be able to tell you that, oh, you have depression, or you have, an anxiety disorder, or, I mean, you can chat GPT how to deal with an oncoming panic attack, because it probably has the information necessary to give you those kind of tools. But to diagnose you with a panic attack has to come from a qualified professional. And it simply isn't. AI does not have the LLM models. It uses a black box mechanism. So you don't know how it's coming to these conclusions. So, I mean, to my therapist, I can ask that, why the hell do you think I have ABCD disorder? Explain it to me. ChatGPT will not be able to give it tailored to my need, right? Applicable to me. So I think anything medical, please go to a proper trained actual doctor, rather than depending on these sort of self-help situations. Because yeah, as Akshara said, there have been numerous situations. I think I read recently a 13-year-old boy was encouraged by ChatGPT
Yeah.
to kill himself, and the boy did. And if that's 13 years old, there's so much potential for him. Maybe he was just having, I mean, we've all gone through our angsty teenagers, but AI does not have the bandwidth to understand that that's part of evolutionary culture. It's part of what humans go through. So nor does it understand how hormones affect each person, etc. So I think that depending on AI, I think Akshara is very sweet. I would have said absolutely no. Like, do not depend on it for these sort of things. I don't even think you should depend on it for general legal research, because it's
Oh,
just
yeah,
full of
yeah,
hallucination. There you
yeah.
go, the sufferer. Completely agreed with. But yeah, so I mean, if I can't trust it to give me a citation of a case that is allegedly been decided by the Supreme Court, how can I expect it to interpret my feelings?
Correct.
Yeah, I just want to add, of course, when it comes to mental well-being, AI is the last thing to be trusted to go for, right? But then, there are those areas where AI could help when it comes to building skills like empathy, having conversations which are empathetic conversation. A lot of simulations that are available, AI-enabled simulation platforms where people can rehearse their conversations, right? Somebody who's a new counselor who will be managing people for the first time, they can literally go ahead, have the prompts. There is a scenario, people can just practice having those safe conversations. That's one. I think second use case is we have these AI nudges on our Outlook or on our phones which reminds you, okay, it's time to drink water, it's time to go for a break and things like that. At least AI is helping with all of that. And I know there are people who are very lonely. They use this chat GPT and all of that to have some sort of conversation. Imagine people who have absolutely nobody around them. They're using it. So using AI responsibly is important. Being aware to what extent you want to trust what is coming their way is very important, is what I would say.
Megha, can I ask you a question in this loneliness situation?
Yeah.
Sorry, Amir, I've just decided to take it over. But but if I could ask you a question in the loneliness aspect, if you are talking to an AI or a created entity, are you not further devolving your ability to make actual human connections? Is it not going
Absolutely.
to affect you adversely? Is it not far better to go to a psychologist and say, hey, I have these sort of interpersonal issues. Tell me how to deal with it on an actual person basis. Do you not I might be
Absolutely.
wrong,
If it
but
is that critical, you're having issues, then of course. But I'm just saying, if you have, let's say you're in a new place, you're undergoing separation, divorce, and there's absolutely no one, and you just want to think of some ideas to do something. I mean, those scenarios where people are
yeah,
making
so
use of
yeah,
it,
like putting
not
in
for the
a
mental issues.
like, hey, I'm new to Bombay.
Yeah,
What are the fun things
exactly.
to do here? That
Yeah,
kind of stuff is
of
fine. But
course.
then I
Yeah,
don't think it comes within the mental health space over there because
yeah.
it's more like a tool. You're just kind of checking with it. Instead of asking your rando neighbor, you're asking rando AI.
Right. Of course, not for the critical mental health
Yeah, yeah.
issues for sure.
Sorry, Amir, back to you.
No. Okay, thank you. Being, what do you say? You having the, what do you say, two sides of the coin conversation. So this is what my coffee speakers bring to the table. Wonderful conversation. So my last question for the esteemed panelist: what's one piece of advice you would give to young professionals entering high stakes corporate environments, not only law firms, about protecting their mental wellness? So who wants to start?
I would tell them to just love themselves, operate with growth mindset. I've been a big advocate of growth mindset, and Amir. I would tell them to be open to learning. I think that has to be inculcated right at the beginning of their careers by the parents, by the mentors, coaches, everyone. That it's very easy to get into that rat race and start comparing, my first step to someone's 100th step. So it is important that they know that they don't have to compare. They should be open to seek help, learn, and just grow in life. That's about it. That undue pressure is what will not help them.
I think I would, again, like I said, been a woman and a lawyer my entire life. So my perspective is going to come from that space. I would probably say one is take pride and responsibility for your work. The moment you do that, that changes the ball game. And as Megha said, be curious. Like, you get out of law school thinking, oh, I know ABCD of law, but you actually don't. Like, even with 15 years of experience, I still feel like there's so much to know because the law is evolving, the law is changing, everything is changing around us. So I think a responsibility for your work, pride in your work, and being open to making mistakes and taking correction. Like, nobody is perfect, and just because it could be a junior who corrected you. Like, very recently my junior corrected a pronunciation of mine, and yeah, you have to kind of take it because people nobody's perfect, and if you can take correction, is the only way you can grow. So I think those two things, and they do it without ego.
Yeah, I think I would suggest anybody who is getting into the corporate or any work for that matter, go or get into it with passion. Whatever it is, whatever you're doing, do it with passion. And when when you unleash your true potential, and don't give reasons like this is how I am, this is how I have been brought up, and these are my patterns, so you accept the way I am. So I generally do not agree with this statement whenever people say this is how I am and accept the way I am, because if you have a dysfunctional pattern, it is your problem, not the people around you. So if you have a problem, you have to address it and not take excuse of this is how I am. So unleash the true potential, try new ways, experiment in the organization, take the help of, like others said, take the help of others, seniors, and try growing in whatever you're doing. That's when you will have that kind of enthusiasm to do something new every day. So instead of again having this thought in mind that if I work more, then I will have a mental health challenge. Instead, if you start working, and in case if there is any mental health challenge comes on your way, definitely seek support, seek therapists. But then don't have that in your mind when you are venturing into something, because that itself can becoming a limiting factor in your journey. So that is how I look at.
Yeah, I would say that it's a marathon, not a sprint. So do it like that. When you're starting, don't think that I would do everything in 5 years or 10 years or whatever. Just take one day at a time and treat your mental health like you treat your physical health. So don't like I mean, if you have a cold or cough, it's a lot of times it is not serious enough for not work. So you work along with it. Similarly, if your mental health, you're facing some issues, but if you feel that you can, work, should work, you do your work along with that. But at the same time, if it gets really bad or, it's a really tough situation, then you don't have to work. You need to be vocal about it. You need to be clear about it. And that can only happen when when you choose your place of work wisely. See, I know that a lot of time for a fresher, it's not possible to determine, oh, I'm going to work in an X law firm or a Y law firm. But maybe, I mean, if you have that choice, that's good. But everyone has a choice at some point in their career. And at that point of time, you should exercise it. Uh, it may not be the most prestigious law firm in terms of remuneration to work at, but at the end of the day, and that's why I say it's a marathon. Treat your brain, and at least for lawyers, your brain is your biggest asset. If you're going to burn it in 5 years or 10 years, it's not worth it. Compared to working at a so-called less paying law firm, but where you can genuinely learn more and where you can do it for a much longer period of time. I'll rather earn lesser money and spend it on things I like than earn more money and spend it on medical bills.
I think another thing as well is don't let others affect you. Like one of the philosophies I have lived my life on, and I think it has served me well. I don't know if it will serve everybody well, but I feel it served me well. Is you do you, boo, but do it over there. Don't do it near me. So I think if we can do that, if we can say, look, I understand you have a different view. I understand you have ABCD things to do, but you do whatever you want to do, but do it away from me. And if we can practice that as like well, it's my holy grail mantra, which basically means I refuse to let other people's comments, praise, whatever it is, affect who I intrinsically am. I'm not saying don't be happy if someone says you're good. I'm not saying don't be affected if someone says, hey, this is what you've done wrong, or don't take correction. I'm just saying don't let it seep into who you intrinsically are, good or bad.
Wow. So we have come to the end. So we wrap up today's conversation. All the panelists have made clear mental wellness is not separate from performance, it is the foundation of performance. A safe space at work is not just about policies or programs, it's about culture, empathy, and everyday actions that tell employees you belong here, you are safe here, your well being matters. If we can normalize conversations around stress, burnout, and support, then we can build workplaces that don't just demand results, but also nurture resilience. So, thank you, all my panelist coffee speakers, for your thoughtful, engaging conversation around this topic, safe space, and gratitude to Nayantara who built up this, and to all contribute to this wonderful conversation, because coffee is all about conversations. So, Megha, when we meet, you will have to have coffee.
Thank you so much,
So,
Amir. Thank you for
Thank you
having
for
us here.
having
I
us.
loved listening to everybody and love contributing. Thank you.
Thank you for
yes, so
having
happy
me. It
Diwali in
was a
advance,
great pleasure.
and we meet in person and continue our conversation on different topics.
Definitely.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you,
you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank
everyone. Bye.
you. Have a great evening. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
bye. Bye.